Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl News. My name is Brian, and Candace Owens absolutely mops the floor with Mark Lamont Hill for his ridiculous comments when it comes to men competing in women's sports. This isn't a good look even on Piers Morgan. Let's dive in.
It's why the Olympics have always separated the sexes, because the truth is, if they didn't, women wouldn't win any medals.
Look, I mean, listen, I know that
I think what you should do is bring someone in who has the position that you're trying to debate. It's like you're trying to force a debate with me on something that we agree on. So bring on somebody who has the opposite position, and they can speak for that. But what I'm saying is
right.
that
I just wanted to add here, like, just to say where we do actually differentiate, like trans women are absolutely not women. And that's why we're playing the crazy game right now, is because we have people that are trying to parse reality and say, well, I believe trans women are women, but they're also biological men. Like the fact that we are calling them trans women, it is because they are not women. I am a woman, and no matter how you feel on the inside, you are never going to be a woman. And that disagreement, that fundamental disagreement, is the reason why we are playing the crazy game. I won't play it. I will not address a man that is in a dress as a woman. It's insulting to me. It's insulting to the things that actual women lived through in their lives. And, you know, you can play Halloween, you can put lipstick on a pig. It is still a pig, and it is just Halloween. So I just feel very strongly about that, and I wanted to make that clear. And that this is a large part, though, Piers, going back to your point of why, because my sisters were on the left, and this is the first election that they voted for Trump. They're from Connecticut. Dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, I guess you could say, and they moved away. And the trans issue was the #1 reason that they did.
Yeah.
What they said was happening in the school system made them fearful. They have sons. They thought it was completely crazy and bizarre that they're insisting upon trying to make toddlers. My sisters have toddlers believe that they can be anything that they want and that they're non-binary. They truly believe the left has gone crazy. And they say, I didn't leave the left left me. And that is an accurate statement to make, because they cannot just see things that are just so plainly obvious. They are trying to criminalize the idea that a woman is a woman, and you can't just become a woman because you feel a certain way on the inside. And the right, like I'm doing right now, I will just say it as it is, right? You are not a woman. I am sorry that you are suffering from a mental disorder. If you were suffering from any other mental disorder, I would treat you the same way. I want you to get better. But because you are suffering from a mental disorder does not mean that I have to pretend that I have a mental disorder and that I see things differently. I don't.
I mean, Mark, I'll let you respond directly to what Candace says there. Well, let me just point out one thing. Let me just point out one thing. There was a New York Times report today that said that one of the most effective Trump ads during the presidential race towards the end was the one where he had Kamala Harris saying, she'll call you they, them, I'll call you you, or whatever it was. And that turned out to be, to the Trump campaign team's surprise, one of their most effective ads of the whole race, apparently, which suggests it is a much bigger issue than some Democrats clearly want people to think. I saw Joe Scarborough on this yesterday, very vocal, saying this trans issue has gone completely wrong. The Democrats should not be supporting this kind of thinking. And Bill Clinton, apparently, according to the New York Times, he directly tried to get the Democrats and Kamala Harris and her team to understand that they had to come out against this. But they didn't. And that is, I think, a big problem, particularly, as I say, the reason I think it's a big problem is if at the same time you're trying to say, I'm the person protecting women's rights. One of the reasons why so many women didn't vote for her may be because they just didn't buy it. Sorry, if you did, you wouldn't allow this.
I'll respond to all those points. I think they're interesting points. I think, one, I'm not sure anyone, and again, I need to see the data to speak to this, just as we all should. I don't think anyone is voting for the president based on this issue. It could be an issue that tips the scale, but I think most people aren't voting for president based on this issue. I just don't think it's the priority issue of most people.
Mothers are.
I do. Again, they may be. I'd like to see the evidence of that. I can't say definitively one way or the other, but it's never happened before in any election, so this would be the first time. So if it's true, just show me the evidence, and I'm happy to learn from it. But to the bigger point here, I think that we can say, when I say woman, I'm including cisgender women, I'm including transgender women. When I say women, I'm including all of their experiences. When I want to protect women, I don't just want to protect cisgender women, I want to protect transgender women. And most Democrats, I think, who I speak to, and again, I'm not a Democrat, but I'm on the left, most Democrats, I think, share the position I have. I don't think most people, at least in my neighborhood, my community, I'll talk about black people in particular, think that trans folks should be playing in sports, right? In ways that create competitive disadvantage.
Well, let's agree on that central point.
They recognize and respect people's ability to be trans.
Okay, hang on. We've got about 3 minutes left. Candace,
I feel so strongly about this. Yeah, I just feel strongly about this.
Listen, I think you've made your point strongly.
Oh, man. Oh, bless your heart, Mark Lamont Hill. If it wasn't for Bill O'Reilly, this dude would have faded into obscurity a long time ago. And as a younger viewer of Bill O'Reilly, I remember him being on there constantly and him getting clowned constantly, and it looks like nothing has ever changed. I mean, bless your heart, dude, but unless you have sort of a fetish for getting beaten out of your mind when it comes to a logical argument, you really shouldn't be here anymore, dude. Ugh. So the point that he was attempting to make was, well, some Democrats don't really believe that a thing is really a thing, and some Democrats actually believe that a thing is definitely a thing. It's an absurd argument from the get-go that you're even in this situation to begin with. What Candace talks about at the end, her own family members basically saying that they've been lifelong Democrats, but they've looked to the left and realized that the progress that has occurred on the progressive side has gone quite literally off the cliff. When you're at the edge of the Grand Canyon, you have two voices in your head, either back away or jump. The left says, hey, let's keep moving forward. Jump. That's what keeps happening time and time and time again, that the left just shows itself to be absolutely asinine, particularly when it comes to the issues of men and women's sports, okay? Should be something very simple, that if you have enough testosterone and if you have an X and a Y chromosome in your biological makeup, you compete with the males. All right, it's that simple. We had this battle of the sexes decades ago in tennis, and then I think a handful of years ago, we had an exhibition of the U.S. women's soccer team playing against a whole bunch of retired U.S. soccer players, and they mopped the floor with these women. And then I think just a couple of years ago, there was another exhibition where the U.S. women's soccer team played against a bunch of high school men, and they lost. Okay, Serena Williams herself is able to understand that while she is biologically gifted, one of the most interestingly built humans ever assembled, and I mean that in a very positive way, she is just a thickly built human being, but she even admitted that the number 200 male tennis player could probably beat her in a match. That's because in men's bodies, okay, we have this thing called testosterone. We have a Y chromosome. We have a different physiology when it comes to hormonal balances. And that makes us at least a little bit different than women, okay? There's a couple of things that we're going to notice when we're in the locker rooms. And when you have testosterone, it's going to increase your hand-eye coordination, it's going to increase your dexterity, it's going to increase your muscle mass, and unfortunately, it's also going to increase your likelihood of doing something really, really stupid when you're a teenager. I know that I suffer from that problem, but you know what? The cool thing about being a man is conquering those problems. And instead of looking at it from that perspective, a whole lot of this debate is an attempt to, well, these people are under a delusion, but we need to give in to that delusion. We need to play along. No, thank you. I am not here to play house with you, okay? Unless there is a tea party that my daughter is creating, okay? I do not have to play pretend with you. You can go and celebrate Halloween elsewhere, but don't ask me to play in the facade, okay? I am not a historical reenactor, although I would actually kind of enjoy that, come to think of it. But I'm not a cosplayer, all right? I don't go and dress up and pretend I'm something I'm not, and then go outside of the convention and force you to placate me and my fantasy, okay? That's not what normal people do. And that's the big problem when it comes to the issue of men and women's sports and the T's in the LGBT community, because you're forcing everyone else to play along. Or you can just accept that A, you're something a little bit different, B, you're going to do things a little bit differently, and C, you're not forcing people to play along. That's all we're asking for. And Candace doesn't even have to make the point. Ironically enough, it's Mark Lamont Hill making this point. But the fact that Democrats and liberals have put themselves in this situation where they have to play along in fantasy land, I'm sorry, you've gone too far. And that's exactly what Candace is pointing out. The left has gone, in typical fashion, too far, and it's a little too late for them to turn back. And there's a whole multitude of reasons for that. But the reality is, Piers Morgan is doing better as a journalist because he helps expose this nonsense. So I actually want to say thank you, Mark Lamont Hill. You aren't exactly hitting a home run here, but hey, at least you're back in the ballpark and you're not getting smacked around like you used to on the Bill O'Reilly show. However, Candace Owens, I'm pretty sure, is good at that herself. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl News. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.